Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm starting a new weekly series called Let's Chat Chelsea, and I'm so excited for my very first episode. I had to have this guest on. He's one of my very best friends on football Twitter. We talk almost every day. I don't know what I would do without this guy. So, Jam, thank you so much for joining me on the very first episode of this new series.
Gosh, Shelley, thank you for the WWE intro. I'm feeling pumped for this. This is actually brilliant. I've seen all the good stuff that you've been doing on your channel. And, off the back of that, I'm going to say, everyone that's watching this, you better subscribe and you better like the video because it's going to be a good one.
Definitely. So to start off this video, I wanted to talk about the Morecambe game and specifically some players that I think we were really expecting a lot of or had a lot of pressure going into that game, being Timo Werner and Kai Havertz. So how did you think that they performed in that game?
Yeah, I thought Kai Havertz could have been, he was a good shout for man of the match. I actually had him as second to Callum Hudson-Odoi, but a very close second. He got an assist and he got a goal, both with his head and towering headers. And that just shows what he's about, arriving in the box and being that aerial threat. So that's massive for Chelsea, a team that crossed the ball a lot. That's absolutely huge. And hopefully he gets a massive confidence boost from that game. And I think with Timo Werner, his performance was okay. You've got to think that Morecambe had literally 11 men behind the ball. So it's very hard as a striker that likes to run in behind to get involved in it. He tried his best. He put in a shift and he got a goal. If he didn't score, it would be a problem. It would just be everyone talking about Timo Werner for the wrong reasons. It's good that it was an assist from Kai Havertz because, they've got that German link up, obviously, and they do link up a lot. So actually, I think he'll get a boost from this as well. I think it was all good.
Yeah, I hope so. For Kai Havertz's goal, I was really happy with him because I think he gets this reputation of not being such a physical player. And that was a pretty physical goal, if I do say so myself. Like, he really jumped over that defender to head the ball into the back of the net. So I was happy with his performance. And I think something that we haven't really seen from him recently is that he was playing more centrally and more forward, which I think he's more comfortable playing, and that's where a lot of people have said that he excels in his gameplay. So I think that that's something that I would like to see more of him, because playing on the right hand side, sometimes maybe he loses the ball, he loses out possession, or he'll be playing a little farther back than he normally would. And to get the best out of Kai Havertz, I thought that this was a pretty good game to showcase it. Like, maybe we need to see him slightly more centrally, which isn't to say that he can't play as an 8. You can definitely move over a bit and be floating in those areas. And yeah, I totally agree with Timo. I didn't think he had the best of games, but as you said, definitely hard to get into those areas when you have so many people behind the ball. I'm hoping that both of these players get the confidence boost that they needed, because honestly, they had been so long without scoring. They just look so down on their confidence. Do you think that we'll see that going into this Fulham game? You think they'll be starting one, and you think that they'll be able to have some confidence knowing that they scored?
Gosh, Shelley, that's a tough question, isn't it?
I'm here to ask the tough questions.
Here we go. I think there's a shout for Kai Havertz starting. I really do. I think if we're playing against Fulham, we're going to be more on the front foot, aren't we? No matter if it's away from home. Obviously, this season doesn't really matter if you're home or away. But I think we'll be more on the front foot. So actually, I think it's a very good game for him to come in off the back of the Morecambe game and, get himself on the score sheet or get an assist. I think he could do it. I could see Kai Havertz starting. Timo, I'm 50-50 on that. And yeah. I'm kind of thinking that Frank probably has him in his mind to start against Fulham for the same reasons as I said for Kai Havertz starting. But then again, we need to win this game. And actually, you're going to have to look at who is scoring goals at the moment. And that's Tammy or Olivier Giroud. So I'm 50-50. I don't really know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one. But the question I ask myself is, what message does it send to Timo if he's low on confidence, he just scored, and then he can't get back to scoring and can't get back into the game? If he's trying to build up some momentum, maybe Frank sees that and says, oh, Like I think that maybe he should be starting. I don't know. It's definitely a really tough one. I think that Timo's going to start. I think it would be kind of harsh that he scores and then doesn't start, and maybe he just needs that extra confidence boost. But I totally see that it's a must-win game for Frank Lampard, I think, as well, which is so crazy to think that a game like this has turned into a must-win game. But that's where we're at as Chelsea fans.
This is it.
So,
this is it.
So taking a look at that attack in the Fulham game, I think that it could be very interesting because there's a lot of people shouting for Callum Hudson-Odoi to start, and a lot of people shouting that Pulisic should start. So where do you stand on that? Because I think Ziyech is probably going to have that right wing.
Yeah, do you know what? When you consider all three at the moment, and I feel like I need to choose my words carefully here because I'm in the But no, in all seriousness, right? In all seriousness, I think it's really healthy competition between the three of them for them all to be competing. And I think at the moment, Callum Hudson-Odoi is the form winger. When you look at his output in the last 3-4 games that he's played, where he hasn't even started all of them, he's actually had a few assists and a few goals. So, yeah, I think Callum needs to be starting, and I think he needs to be rewarded for his form. Conversely, I think Pulisic hasn't been on bad form, but if you're just looking at numbers, there haven't really been the numbers there to justify him starting ahead of Callum, just for now.
Yeah.
And Ziyech and Callum seem to have a link up as well. They do. There's been a few goals, and I think back to the very first game they played together, the friendly against Brighton. It was exactly the same. Ziyech pinged in a ball behind, Callum hits a header, then Werner tapped it in. I think Werner scored that. So
I feel like Ziyech just had link up with everybody. He's just so good.
Which is true. I'm not taking it away from him. But remember last season when he sat on the bench for some period of time, it brought the best out of him as well. So I think it kind of works both ways for Callum and Pulisic. They're interchangeable. We've got loads of games coming up. I just think Callum should start against Fulham, and we'll see how he gets on. But Pulisic could be in line to start against Leicester, which is a harder game anyway. So, it's tough.
That's a good point. And you're going to be surprised, but I agree with you. I would actually start Callum over Pulisic. I feel like I'm betraying him so hard. I can't even tell you. I really, really do. But if you're playing based off of merit, then you're right. Callum does deserve to start this game. He's been scoring goals. He's been getting assists as well. And Pulisic has looked good, but sometimes I feel that he needs to pick his head up, pick out a better final third pass, which, by the way, is something I do think Callum needs to do more as well. I saw it at the Morecambe game that he wasn't really doing it too much. And then towards the end, he actually started picking his head up and he got a lot better in his game. So I do think that we're probably going to see Callum on the left, or I should say, I don't know what Frank is going to do, but if he's playing based off of merit, I think we will see Callum on the left, Ziyech on the right, and I think he's going to go Werner up front, but that's just me. So how are you feeling about this Fulham game? Because it's a big one.
Yeah, do you know what? Chelsea don't really do things the easy way, do we? How many times do we find ourselves in high-pressure games like this? And I'm not saying it's necessarily the manager's neck on the line all the time, but it always seems like we're always in the headlines for the wrong reasons in that sense. And this is a must-win game. It is a West London derby. Fulham are literally a mile or two down the road. Chelsea's in Fulham Broadway. They're going to be up for it. Fulham are fighting for their lives. It's not going to be easy. I think the quality of Chelsea will come out eventually. And if I was to put a score out there, I'd say we win 3-0 or 3-1. But we're going to have to work for it. Our midfield need to function. We need to be getting that ball into the final third as quick as possible. We can't afford to be one-dimensional, just going out to our fullbacks expecting a cross in. We need to vary up the game, which is why actually I think that makes a case for Kai Havertz starting, having another playmaker in the middle, having him interchanging with Ziyech. And another thing is, Ellie, quickly just to say, this 2 weeks that we've got right now since our last game, before Morecambe, I think it was against Aston Villa. No, Man City, sorry. That's the first long period of time we've had to actually have time on the training pitch and practice stuff. So
that is so true.
Exactly. And what Frank's done is he's had that training time and he's played a strong team because he's been working on things in training all week. So that might actually carry on through to the Fulham game. He might play a very similar team with one or two changes. So, I think we have been working on different ways to vary up our game in these 2 weeks. And I think we'll see it against Fulham. And I'll go for 3-1 if you're going to twist my arm.
3-1, that's a bold prediction. I think that Fulham are going to have a lot of people, or players, I should say, behind the ball. And I think it's probably going to be very difficult to break them down. But once we do, hopefully the goals will start flooding. But we have seen that Chelsea have been lacking goals recently. So honestly, I should not be worried for this game, but I am very worried for this game. And what do you think will happen if Chelsea drop points, even if it's a draw? What do you think will happen to Frank Lampard, to the Chelsea fan base? What do you think that reaction is going to be?
Well, let me start with the Chelsea fan base. It will be chaos. It will be a nuclear fallout. Like the environment will be poisonous, and everyone will be hiding in bunkers. It will be peak. Honestly, I don't even want to picture it. I mean, what makes it 10 times worse is when you have rival fans bantering or always bringing it up. It just amplifies it.
100 million.
Exactly. It'll just be what we spent. And look, let's be honest, where we are in the table right now, we're behind where we want to be. So we can't afford to drop points. We really can't. And I think, unfortunately, Frank will be in seriously hot water if we drop points. If we lose, I don't even want to picture it. I don't want Frank to go, but we need to start asking questions of him and scrutinising him in the right way. And unfortunately, where we are right now and where we're tracking points-wise and how far we are behind where we want to be, we need to pick up points against teams that are going to get relegated or are fighting for their lives. We must get 3 points. So, Frank needs to get a win here, and so do the boys.
I don't know why, but I feel like every season Chelsea always struggle against the teams that are going to get relegated or in a relegation battle. Like every season without fail, I feel like we always drop points against these teams that should be definite wins. It's so weird. But yeah, I read an article, I think it was on The Athletic, that they said Chelsea are not really currently looking to change the manager. They're willing to give Frank Lampard time. They did invest heavily in him. And I think something to note too, like this is the first like real bad patch that Chelsea have gone through in his management. Like last year, I think we overachieved by getting top 4 with the team that we did. Maybe that's a bold statement, but I do think that we were lucky to get top 4, having not been able to make any signings. You're losing Hazard, etc., etc. We all know the story, but I think that has almost hurt Lampard a bit because now everybody's looking, okay, well, we got top 4 last season. So now this season we have to do even better than that. We need to improve because we have 200 million worth of signings. And it's just not happening right now where we've been playing pretty poorly. But I do want to remind everybody that we did go 17 games unbeaten and we were on top of the world in those moments, and now it's just been a really rough patch. So I do think that management will probably give Frank Lampard more time just because it's the first rough patch. They did invest in him, and I think that's saying we'll back you as a manager. And in the Athletic article, it basically said that Chelsea will back him unless they see the aim of top 4 really leaving and getting very difficult. So if we lose against this Fulham side, that gap increases and it's just getting bigger and bigger. So I think Frank will probably stick it out to the end of the season, but I don't even want to think about what the Twitter fan base is going to be like if we lose that game, honestly. So do you feel that sometimes on Twitter that there's like a short-term thinking, or do you feel that people are justified in what's being said on Twitter after the games?
Well, do you know what? I mean, I think the problem with Twitter is that it is a platform for people thinking out loud. Now, if you're thinking, you're not always putting context to what you're saying. You're not explaining yourself. You're not articulating yourself very well. So I think a lot of people will say stuff, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. The majority of people, they don't know what they're saying and the effect on the implications that might have, if that makes sense. They might just say something like, Frank Lampard doesn't know what he's doing. But that might be the context in one game where he may not have made subs early enough, and they don't explain that. So I think sometimes it could be a little bit amplified on the platform. And obviously everyone can think what they like. They can say what they like to an extent. But I think maybe what people need to do is they need to just add a little bit more meat to what they're saying sometimes. Otherwise, they're just probably fishing. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. There are people that like to fish on Twitter, and they usually catch me. They usually catch me. You know, I'm always swimming around in those lakes. You know, so yeah. I think for me anyway, when I say stuff, this is why I prefer videos. This is why you probably prefer videos, Ellie. It's because we can add a bit of meat to the bones, and we can really talk through our thinking on things and really make sense of what it is. And it's easier sometimes for people to understand what we're saying. And that's not to say you could do that through tweet. You can't do that through tweets, but I find it easier this way. And
yeah, like, don't get me wrong. After a game, I'm so miserable. If we lose, my day is ruined, and I try not to tweet anything too negative because I don't want to like add fuel to the fire, you know. But I do feel like at some point there is like some short-term thinking, and it's just so reactionary that it's like, oh, we lose, and then it just starts building up and piling up and piling up. And I don't know. I think like sometimes we just have to take a step back and think about like why we support Chelsea. And, you know, I would support this team through thick and thin. I hate losing, but that doesn't make me support the team any less. Or I backed the manager. I don't think I was ever any manager out, you know, unless it got really, really bad. I don't think I would ever say that. So that's just me personally. But I understand everybody feels differently. If some people don't think that Lampard is the man for the job, that's totally like you're entitled to that opinion. But I think sometimes on Twitter after a loss, it just gets so heated, and sometimes we just need to take a step back and like step away from the social media. At least that's what I do. Otherwise, I would lose my head.
Yeah, go boxing or something. It's quite good for you, you know?
So just one final question, taking a step away from Chelsea, we did get a question that I wanted to address from Tom Coley is, how are you dealing with lockdown? I think it's important to address this because I know the UK is in a lockdown. In Spain, we're locked down by snow, but we're not in a full lockdown, of course. And I think a lot of people could be having difficult times right now, and it's important to talk about these things. So how are you doing through lockdown? What's keeping you going, motivated? Any tips that you have for people?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I think it's okay to feel bad. You know, you should think, I actually don't feel that great today. Like, this is getting to me, and talk to people. That's okay. That's what I learned through the first lockdown last year in April. I was a bit too much of a macho man. I'll be like, no, I'm all right. Then it builds up till one day where you're just like, you know, screw this. Like, this is horrendous. And you just let it all out in one. And that's probably not great. It's not good for you. Because I think when you talk to people, you'd be surprised how therapeutic it is when actually people have had similar experiences and can give you tips. Or just getting it off your chest like that. You feel so much better. Because then people will check in on you. You know, they will say, how are you doing? And mean it. And sometimes that's all you need. You just need an arm around your shoulder. Okay, you can't do that because it's a lockdown, obviously. But you know what I'm saying. A virtual arm around the shoulder.
A virtual, as I was going to say.
Yeah, virtual high five.
It's a virtual hug.
Yeah, exactly. But do you know what? I think what helps me personally, and people function differently, but I'm going to say what helps me, is coming up with things that I want to achieve or have achieved by the end of the lockdown. So it's not always easy to know when that might be. But if I go back to last year, I really had to use up the spare time that I suddenly had. And that's when I saw a tweet from you, Ellie, saying at the time, SW6 Daily at the time, are looking for people to to make videos content, and I was battling with myself for a good half an hour, thinking I could do that. No, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I could do that. No, I don't want to do that.
No
yeah, go on
way.
then. No, I don't want to do
I've
that.
never heard
Yeah.
this story.
I can't believe I haven't told you. And then when I finally messaged you, you're like, yeah, just send us a sample. I was like, what the hell am I going to do? I think I ended up speaking about why I like Chelsea, how old I am, what I do, and stuff like that. Because I was just like,
oh, I meant like a match preview sample, but I love this guy's energy, so I'm just going to invite him on.
but this is it. And if you ever find that video, you better delete that, by the way. I'm just saying.
Jam's audition tape.
If that gets leaked, that would be my best performing video on Twitter, and I don't want it to be. I was fresh. It was like, you know, when you first joined school, that was like me in the sort of equivalent way. Gosh, when I absolutely love doing this stuff now, and if it wasn't for the lockdown, I never would have done this. Yeah. I'm telling you that now. So that's a massive achievement I've got from it. It doesn't have to be health, fitness, all the usual stuff. I mean, back then I was learning a language. I did this, and I think there was some other stuff I was trying to do. But yeah, try and get something.
You don't even remember anymore.
This is it. It was like, that was last year. This year, you know, one thing I've said to myself is communication. The one thing that I'm going to make sure is I'm going to be more emotionally intelligent with my colleagues, my family, my friends, and yeah, the girl I'm seeing as well. I had to think about how I said that, by the way. I hope she doesn't see this. Anyway.
I want to share this video with her.
Oh, man. Yeah. So, yeah, being emotionally intelligent and just asking people, how are you doing? Checking in on people. I've been somebody to be engrossed in my own stuff and not really care about anyone else, without meaning it in a bad way, but I do care. And I realized I care, so I'm going to ask. Do you know what I mean? That's a massive thing. But yeah, that's basically a lot of stuff from me.
I love that. I love that so much. I think it's so important because I sometimes feel like I don't want to be bothersome and to like put my things onto other people. And I think, oh, they must have other things that they're going through, or I don't want to pry and ask how they're doing, you know. So I get like so in my head with that stuff. But I think like at the end of the day, your close friends want to know how you're doing, and they're going to make the time for you. And it's something that I definitely need to work on, just like reaching out to people more, especially like my friends back in the US with the time difference. It's like difficult for us to get in contact. I'm 6 hours ahead of them, and you know, if they reply, then I'm going to bed, and it's this whole thing. So I think it's what you said. It's important to make time for people and maybe schedule like fun things that you can do virtually. Like I know that there's like a lot of games that you can play, or me and my friends use Netflix Party and we'll like watch a movie together sometimes, and you can like chat. You haven't heard of it? Yeah. So you use Netflix Party and it syncs up your Netflix, and then you can chat. Like they have like a chat box, so you can like commentate the movie while you're watching it. Yeah.
Oh shit! I didn't know this.
Yeah. See, look, you're learning new things. This is it's good we're talking about this. So
yeah, it's exactly. I might have to talk to Georgie about this after, but
yeah. Yeah, something that's really helpful for me. I'm super like type A personality, so I really like having a routine and doing the same things, like having a morning routine, getting my day started the same way every day, and having just a list of things that I want to get done for the day and then crossing them off. That doesn't work for everybody, but I've been this way literally since I was 5. My mom has told me stories that I would ask my teacher what the schedule was for the day so that I could cross it off. So I've like literally always been this way. Yeah. So that's something that's really helpful for me, and I hope for you guys that the lockdown ends soon. It's still going to be weird times until, you know, it gets better. And I think we're all feeling that. But I don't know. This community definitely helps me a lot, to end on a positive note. Like this community definitely helps me, and talking to everybody and making these videos gives me some sort of purpose and way to spend my free time. So I'm super appreciative for all of you guys as well. So I'm going to end it there. But before I end, Jam, of course, plug whatever you want to plug.
Guess what I'm going to plug first. So,
I have no idea.
come on, the Chelsea social. We had the name change at the start of the month. Now we've got a YouTube page and Twitch, so we do live streams on there. We do previews and review vids on there. Obviously, you jump in sometimes, Ellie, and you help us out with some videos. Please do subscribe and give us a follow on Twitter as well. And also the CFCW social too, which is the page on Twitter for the women's team. So just hook us up on there and follow your main man as well, carefree_jam. Follow us on Twitter. Just check us out on our videos. I will be doing a Fulham preview soon, but it would be much appreciated. But don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like the video, people. Don't forget to do that.
Thanks, Jam. You said everything for me. I don't. There's nothing else for me to add. You've been doing an awesome job with the Chelsea social, so everybody definitely should follow that page. You've been absolutely killing it. The media is just the best I've ever seen. So thank you guys so much for watching. As Jam said, this side. As Jam said, follow me, subscribe to my channel. You have my Twitter @ here, but you probably already know me from Twitter, and we're out.